Hi, I'm Dennis, your online presenter for this short lecture on making your online package introduction more effective, efficient and engaging, because that's what we want it to be. Okay, now I'm going to use John Medina's 10-minute lecture format as an advanced organizer to help you work through the tutorial and hopefully make sense of it and be able to apply it in your practice. Just a point, Medina is a scientist who come up with this format for effective online lectures. So let's get into it. First of all, no more than 10 minutes. Now, this is a key point. Don't go straight into the content, but give a kind of overview, show the gist of the topic, what's important, how it connects to something in the real world. Then, very importantly, as you move through the segments, periodically, typically at the end of a topic or a section, remind learners of where they are in the overall learning process and show how what they're learning now connects to previous learning in the segment and future learning. The basic idea is we wanted to keep them thinking so that they can build understanding. And here's a big point. In any situation, it's a bit like the end of an interview, leave some impression. And the key thing to do is what Medina refers to as bait the hook. Create some motivator so that the student is left with some positive anticipation and interest in what's to come. Okay, so here's the big gist. Why are we really interested in making the introductory section as good as it can be? Because quite simply, it's the first impression that people are going to get when they go into the online package. And it's a bit like going on a first date. And I remember mine, I had no idea what to talk to a girl about. It was a disaster. And guess what? I never got a second date. Okay, so let's be clear about the purpose of this. Essentially, your learning goal is that you can produce effective, efficient, engaging introductory segments. And some of the key learning outcomes that we're going to work through in the next few slides is what's the key information to put in, ways to present the learning goal and the purpose of the learning so that the students buy into it, and establish a positive personal presence, which is also very important. And what we'll do is then to look at how this creates an advanced organizer, a framework to help the student work through the material that's actually customized to that student group. So, are you ready? Okay. What do you think makes a good first impression? Well, I'm sure you got some ideas on this and reflect on it post this lecture. But here's a few things to kick us in. Okay. Basically, you've got to put information that the student really needs to know now in a clear way, obviously, so that they can get stuck in very quickly and engage with the material and know what it's about and how to do it. Obvious point, navigation. If it's not user-friendly, then it's going to turn people off immediately. And very importantly, get across the goal, the purpose. Make it clear, make it meaningful, because that is going to enhance the chances of better attention and interest. And as I said, a positive presence, lively, friendly, and if possible fun, takes a bit of creativity. Okay, so what is it that students need to know at this introductory stage? Well, first of all, ask yourself this. Well, what do they already know already, and how does it connect to what they're going to do now? For example, if they know the schedule, they know the module map, then you can focus very specifically on making connections between what they're going to do here and any previous learning that might help them to get the big picture. But there's a couple of key things to do well, and one is to make that learning goal, specific outcomes clear. And this is where we can use some visual representation and show relevance to real work context. If students don't see it as meaningful and contextualized, pretty difficult to work through online stuff. And as indicated earlier, the Advanced Organizer, it's a summary guide. It gives students a basic structure of how to address the different activities on the packages. Could be videos, could be quizzes, could be other tasks. And some tips where relevant on how to learn the content effectively. So we're providing some learning to learn scaffolding here. Now, positive presence. Now, we know how important this is, and it's challenging online, but here's a couple of key things that we can do. And the tone of voice is really, really important, okay? Be concise, variation in modality, a bit punchy if you like, but very importantly, avoid slow, monotonous, or high-pitched tone. Typically gets perceived as negatively and quickly will lose attention. And here's a biggie as well. I've always known this, and I remember coming to Singapore 20 years ago, and there was a smile campaign. Don't know how successful it's been, but it's a really powerful means to use. But don't use the McDonald's, oh, missing you already kind of smile. Don't work terribly well. Okay, so just to reinforce the advanced organizer, which is what we're actually doing in introduction. Okay, here's a basic definition, short summary of what's to be learned. It provides an organising frame for the content to follow. And very important, if it's done well, the student's able to monitor their learning and check their understanding as they work towards the learning goal. And the more it can connect to the goal, the better is the guide for learning. Hopefully, I have done this for you earlier. Okay, so let's get a frame on where we are now and what's next. In learning anything, as we know, knowledge and understanding is important, but ultimately when skills are involved, we've got to actually do it, and this requires practice. What is often referred to as deliberate practice, where it's planned in a very structured way to improve certain aspects of performance with clear objectives that are achievable with some effort. So essentially will look like this for us. First of all, look at your existing introductory segments and identify some key ways in which you might improve them. Then accept that in all learning of this kind, you're going to have to do it a number of times to get high proficiency. But you're going to get plenty of practice at doing this in the present context in SP. Get feedback from your students, peers, and people that are very good at doing this on the results. In other words, how is it panning out? Are the students meeting the learning goals? Are they saying, yeah, this is engaging, it's helping us to learn? And then you continue with the deliberate practice as necessary. That's the way the top sportsmen do it, so they probably have got a point. Okay, and finally, yeah, first impressions are really important. You must get that right. But as we know, in life, you can start very well and then you can make a mess of things. So we've got to then move on and say, right, having got this first impression that's really impactful, we've got the students interested and engaged, how do we develop it further so that we can really develop the learning purpose for our module or that particular area of learning? How do we develop that relationship? And that's what we're going to look at next. And think about how you might be doing that before our next lecture. So that's my challenge at this point.